Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's video. I want to talk to you today about an opening system against the London system. We all know how popular the London system is. D4, bishop to F4, knight to F3. It's a very popular system as white, and we really need to know what to play against it. So I want to show you a simple system that allows you to not get involved in too many complications and obtain an even game pretty quickly. Okay, it's a system I play once in a while. I want to show you a game that I've recently played with this system. Okay, so the system goes as follows. And again, this is as black when you play black against the London system. So against D4, I want you to open knight to F6. Okay. And if black plays the London, bishop to F4, I want you to play E3. Okay. There are various choices here, knight to F3, E3. My opponent in this game played E3. It's all going to transpose. Now I want you to play B6, and we're going to fianchetto on the queen side to take control of the light squares along the diagonal, B7 to G2. Right, that's the idea of B6. Bishop to D3 for white. And now we could play bishop to B7, but instead, this is the system I want you to play. I played a little different move. We're going to play bishop to B7, but I played bishop to D6. And I can hear a lot of you saying now, Mr. B, you always tell us don't make that move because it blocks in the D pawn. Well, this is the one time when I want you to make that move, and we're going to push that pawn in D5, but this is one time I want you to make that move. If the opponent captures, we're going to recapture with the pawn, and then we're going to, at some point shortly thereafter, move this pawn to D5. We're going to play our knight to E4. This is pretty much what happens in the game, even though white in the game does not capture on D6. As you see, when the game progresses, it pretty much ends up like this. So we end up with a lot of strong white squares. So I want you to play at this point bishop to D6. Blocking in the D pawn is the one time when I want you to do it because it's good here. It's going to lead to a good system, okay? My opponent doesn't even capture here. As I said, when he does, you capture with the pawn. He'll play D5, which is pretty much what happens in the game. Instead, he plays here, bishop to G5, and I just played back. You know, he wasted a move. So did we. Knight to F3, and we're pretty much in a kind of a standard London, although this is usually on F4. And now we complete our fianchetto. Notice we have a very nice, long, good open line for our queen side bishop. White plays knight and B to D2. We play D5 now. I realize it looks like that this is blocking in B, but we're going to play knight here. It's going to open that line up again, okay? It's the idea. We're going to always play knight to E4. Can't stop us really from doing that very easily. Now he plays knight to E5, placing his knight in an outpost, and we play knight and B to D7, plays knight D to F3, and we go knight to E4, okay? Now, if he exchanges here, we're going to recapture with the queen, and we could castle queen side or king side. Again, my opponent chooses not to exchange here. Okay, he plays back to F4, and this is now pretty much a standard London. And we have an option to kick the knight out, get that knight out of there, and we do. F6, knight takes, queen takes, everything's still even. We're going to try to play E5 maybe at some point, or maybe F5. F5 is really what it is we're going to play. Okay, he plays knight back to D2. He doesn't have to. He could easily castle here, and he castles momentarily. Knight to D2. Again, we can take here, but there's no reason to. We can castle either side here. We can castle queen side here, which is maybe the best, or I castled king side here, which of course is fine, but castling is clearly important, following the ABCs of chess. My opponent captures the knight here with his knight, and we recapture with the pawn. And now you see again, we're still controlling this, the middle of the board, the white squares. Idea is to play F5 now, okay, which is pretty much what would have happened if black had captured on D6 or earlier. So we're leading to the same point. um, now he plays here, bishop to c4, and we play bishop to d5, blocking the diagonal. Of course, if he captures, we're going to recapture with the pawn. Our opponent plays queen to e2, opening the lines maybe for him to castle queenside, or he can still castle kingside as well. Now we play back bishop to d6. We could have played a check here too. There's a little combination in there. It's a little tricky, but check here was playable, even though he could have played c3. He retreats back, bishop to g3. Again, he could have castled. He could have captured, excuse me. We recapture using the queen. Now f5, with the threat being of f4, this gaining space. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, putting rooks on the file, opening a file, using pawns as a line clearing option to open a file. Okay. F5, he castles queenside. Maybe the smartest way to do it. We have a number of choices here. I played a6. There's other moves here. My idea is just b5 and start attacking the king. Okay, so I played a6. He played king here, and I played b5, attacking the king. He could retreat back here, but we're just going to keep attacking here with a5 and a4. So he's going to eventually have to capture anyway on d5, and he captures immediately. Bishop takes d5. We recaptured, straightening out our pawns, and we still have the threat coming down at some point of f5. Okay, f4, excuse me. A6, bishop takes d5. He takes d5. He plays rook to c1. I'm sort of can't tell you why he played this move. He's running out of moves. It's much harder to find good white moves here than it is to find good black moves. You look at what we have on the board here. Black has plenty of space. He's got f4 coming at some point. He can even try c5, opening up the game. So black has a very good game here. Very good chances, at least equal. He's got a small advantage, in my opinion. I think computers would show that black has a small advantage here. And this stems from the proper opening play. We really pretty much nullified white's opening. I mean, white got nothing out of the opening at all. I mean, in this line, we were at no risk at all. We just made natural, normal moves. Okay. Let's see. Rook to c1. I could have played c5 here. I could have played f4 here. I chose just to play it safe and play c6. My idea will be a5, b5, moving these pawns down, just securing the middle of the board here. Okay. So there's fairly 2 or 3 really good moves here, all about even. F4 may have been maybe the best of the bunch. He takes finally. I take. What he should play here is g3. He should stop me from playing f4, because once I start to play f4, I can open a line and bring the rooks down, as you'll see in the game. He really needs to stop that, which is why I should have played f4 previously, before I played c6. But he does not play g3. This is a mistake. He should play g3, and the game is about even. I guess I have to eventually maybe try playing c5 eventually. Perhaps he goes c3. You know, it's about even after this. He plays at h3 though, which allows me to start to open lines. Immediately, I played f4. Now I've got an advantage. So I just simply pawn takes pawn, bring the rooks down on the file. I can place the queen maybe in the file, tripling on the file. Material is even, but black has a good position on the board. It's good chances, even though there's just heavy pieces left. Black has very good chances here to gain an initiative and hopefully use that to win the game, to maybe win material. Even one pawn, remember, is all one side needs to win the game. Just an extra pawn. So he plays g4 here. I could capture this en passant in passing if I wanted to, or capture here. I capture the e pawn. He must capture back. Queen here would not be any good. Just rook down and rooks on the file. So he captures pawn takes. His best, still not great. It still allows him to play a rook on an open file. Rooks on open files, remember, one of our chess tools. It's certainly something we want to try to play whenever we can. Rooks belong in open files, and this is a classic example. You know, even if he tries to oppose the rooks, which he does, we still can play rooks on an open file. You can keep control of the file. Rook takes rook. We play rook takes rook, and we're going to place our queen maybe in back of it too. Now, he does take the rook. We do capture the rook. And if he plays rook here now at this point, what we're going to play is queen here, which is exactly what we play in the game, which is what happens in the game. Now, rook takes rook. We're going to recapture pawn takes rook. Whereas obviously queen takes pawn. What's he going to do? We have a pawn coming down. The queen here. His king is too far away. Maybe he plays something like this. We're going to play queen here. Again, queen takes, pawn takes. We queen a pawn. We're going to win the game. So we have a white is very black is a very good game here, right? He plays rook to g1 instead of rook here, and we in fact play plays rook to, excuse me, he does not play rook to g1, which is maybe what he should have attempted to play. Of course, it drops the a pawn. He plays h4. He's trying to hold his a pawn. He's hoping to maybe be able to play here now or something, but now I simply play queen at g3. We will win a pawn, forced to win a pawn, either the e pawn here, g pawn here. Very good game. There's lines where maybe maybe even here is good at some point, but I'm going to win a pawn here. Okay, it's inevitable. There's really not much he can do. Rook here, queen takes pawn here. Maybe this will go too. He's going to lose minimally one pawn here, and I'm going to get a very superior game. My opponent resigns at this point. But this is it all stems from an opening play, from proper opening play. It's so important if we want to improve in chess, especially those of you who are at the more advanced level of play. If you want to get better, you have to study chess. You have to study openings. You have to always be studying your tactics, practice your mates in 2 and mates in 3. But you need to spend time on opening study. You need to know what you want to do when you start the game as white, what you want to do when you start the game as black against e4, d4, and c4 formations, okay? This is a very simple system to use. You should use this against d4 as black. Especially, you're going to see many, many opponents who play knight to f3 or bishop to f4, playing the London system. It's a very popular way, and this is a very simple way to gain equality, or as I did in this game, an advantage with almost no risk, just playing normal, natural moves. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope all of you try this system, playing the London. You need to practice it. Look over this video a few times and practice the system online. Okay? See you next time.